Welcome to another thrilling video by Marvelous Videos. I'm your host Gemma, and today I'll be taking you through Damage DC Hulk Origin Explored. DC and Marvel Comics are the two of the most successful or popular production houses, and with their rise in new characters, there's often been conflicts between them regarding similarities of their characters. So today we'll be talking about a DC character that is similar to Marvel's Hulk. The character is known as Damage, and is a young soldier transformed into a vicious and powerful monster. Created by Robert Venditti and Tony S.Daniel, Damage made his first appearance in Dark Days, the casting, issue 1. Unlike Marvel's Hulk, Damage can retain his monstrous form for an hour each day, and after returning to human state, he lost his consciousness. To understand the character or draw comparisons with its Marvel counterpart, watch the video until the end, and here begins the rampage of the Damage. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Damage Origin, a highly destructive anti-hero origin. Ethan Avery was born in Atlanta to Dale and Helen Avery. He admired superheroes such as Superman and The Flash for the extraordinary actions they performed. When he was old enough, he joined the United States Army because he viewed it as an opportunity to be a hero. Ethan served one tour in Afghanistan, where he established a stellar reputation. Following his service, Ethan volunteered for the Damage program, an experimental treatment that would provide Ethan with superpowers. Colonel Mary Jonas interviewed Ethan and approved him for the program because of his heroic ideas. After multiple trials and testings at the Burrow, Ethan was administered the Damage Serum, a mixture made by Dr. Vess and based on the Miraclo formula. The drug would allow Ethan to turn into Damage, a monstrous monster with no control over his actions. Ethan would embark on multiple missions as Damage, obliterating the enemy army. His first assignment was to take out a Latvian fascist military formation, which he completed in 8 minutes and 13 seconds. One of his other tasks was to murder a terrorist organisation in the African country of Bialya, which he also accomplished. Colonel Jonas would tell Ethan that every bullet he received as Damage would save a soldier, who would have been killed in his stead. Ethan began to doubt his role since he couldn't recall what he did as Damage. Ethan eventually lost trust in his mission, feeling that killing with such malice and ferocity was immoral. His origin story is well explored in his series Damage, wherein all the different issues he had been fighting against various DC superheroes and villains. The independent series is a follow-up from the Metal Dark Multiverse series, which affected the main timeline in several ways. The events gave rise to 8 new superheroes, Damage being one of them. There have been vague references of him in Dark Days casting, but even without knowing it, the Damage series is enough to explain the events that had led to the formation of this new DC character. The story of Damage starts with issue 1, Damage, Out of Control, where we see Ethan Avery tied to a table with his inner voice stating, "Let loose, Ethan." He had joined the Damage program to be able to serve the world as a superhero, but instead, he has now become a monster. Ethan starts transforming, breaking all his restraints, and finally tearing out of the containing aircraft Stork 1. He crashes on the ground and starts wreaking havoc around him. A timer displaying a countdown for 1 hour is seen at the bottom. Despite warnings from Colonel Jonas, Major Liggett deploys in his armoured suit to stop the monster. On the other hand, Damage listens to the voice of Ethan asking him to calm down before Major Liggett shoots him. Liggett shoots him with his minigun and says that he was never qualified for the Damage project and it should have been Liggett himself. He continues his assault till Damage grabs him by the armour's hand and throws him to a nearby building. Damage picks up a heavy debris and plans to drop it on Major Liggett, but is stopped by the voices of Ethan inside him. Major Liggett mocks him as now he couldn't even finish his kill. Damage walks away, destroying everything on the way. When Ethan speaks again, he says to Damage that the people around are not at fault and they should be left unharmed. He also tells him that time is running out and he has to hide soon. Meanwhile, we see Colonel Jonas, the lady in charge of the Damage experiment, reach the plane crash site and talk to Lieutenant Rowe, who says that there have been no survivors but only Liggett, who is in hospital. Colonel Jonas reflects how their experiment of Ethan helped so many soldiers in her army. She regrets the death of the pilot of Stork 1 and blames herself before Amanda Waller and her suicide squad greet her. Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Akando, Solomon Grundy, Giganta and Parasite. The story continues to the second issue. Colonel Jonas doesn't like Amanda Waller's involvement, but she still takes it over. Meanwhile, Ethan has transformed back to his human form and has been rescued by a kind man. The next day, after coming to his senses, he walks on the road and asks a lady for her phone. He calls home but doesn't say a word. This call signals Amanda Waller and her team about his location, and she sends her team to take him down. Deadshot comes in first and talks to him. He points his gun and informs him that Waller wants him, and just then Parasite grabs him from behind. The voices of Damage start talking to Ethan, telling him that it's time for him to unleash. Ethan accepts it, and then Damage takes over him, transforming him again. He throws away Parasite, but Giganta crushes him under her palm. But in a flash, Damage tears a hole out of her hand and escapes. Solomon Grundy did not even get a chance as Damage threw Akando towards him, knocking both of them. He then turns to Deadshot and Harley, and Deadshot asks Harley what they should do. They hear a woman answer to them, "Run," and look back to see Wonder Woman. The story continues to the third issue, where Wonder Woman tries her best to take down Damage. The fight between them is catastrophic, as both are nearly equal in strength. After taking quite an amount of beating, Wonder Woman ties him with her lasso, which no one could ever break out of. However, in a moment, Damage breaks out and escapes. Wonder Woman is left amazed at the beast's strength. Meanwhile, Colonel Jonas asks Amanda Waller to leave her territory, as her team has made a fool of themselves, to which Amanda vouches to bury all of them. Wonder Woman is seen talking to Batman and Superman about the issue. She informs them that she hasn't ever encountered anyone so strong, which is quite a statement, as she had previously fought Doomsday too. While she had managed to hold Damage in her lasso, she had learned that there was a man inside and he wanted to be left alone. Is Damage stronger than Marvel's Hulk? The first issue of DC's Damage comic book series demonstrates how formidable the company's newest character is. Damage was able to knock down a whole military squad in just 8 minutes, leaving nothing standing. Every day, Ethan Avery can turn into Damage for 1 hour. Damage's metamorphosis takes an hour and cannot be divided into 3 separate 20-minute fights. In a struggle over an hour, Wonder Woman tried to stop Damage, but he proved to be too much of a challenge for her. Wonder Woman returned to Superman and Batman, informing them that she had never witnessed such strength, even in Superman. When Wonder Woman attempted to entrap him in her magical golden lasso, his power was so great that he was able to break away. When he is in his Damage form, Ethan can communicate with Damage and provide advice, and Damage can converse with Ethan when he is in his human form. When Suicide Squad attacked Damage, they had no clue what they were getting themselves into. Damage took out the whole team in just 3 minutes. Damage's strength is that he could vanquish the power-hungry Parasite without ever raising a finger. Ethan can manage his metamorphosis, unlike Bruce Banner, who gets transformed into Hulk due to his inability to control his fury. So with all that huge spectrum of power, what do you all think? Is Damage more powerful than the Hulk? Let us know in the comments below. Damage versus Superman. There is a breathtaking battle between Superman and Damage in Damage issue 12, or Showdown with Justice League. The story follows from the preceding issue, issue 11, where 4 of the strongest Justice League members were overpowered by the Beast. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, Vixen, Flash, and Green Arrow were shown to have negligible effort on Damage, after which Superman arrives. The plot opens with Superman standing tall in front of Damage. The very glimpse of his childhood hero made Ethan recollect his memories of him always wanting to be like Superman and how big a fan he was before he gets punched by Superman. He says to himself, "He hits way harder than I expected." Superman flies to him and tells him that previously Wonder Woman had told him that there is a man inside him and he wants that man to stop. But that has no results, as Damage gets up and punches Superman hard enough for him to wonder about that strength. Flash wants to help, but Guy stops him and tells him that it's Superman's fight and they should not intervene. The two exchange fatal blows and the timer is seen to be down to 8 minutes. Superman uses his heat vision, but damage shows no effect. Even with Superman's heat vision blazing, he moves forward and every other superhero is shocked. Damage grabs Superman by the head and we see Batman with Deadman, who enters the body of Damage and stops him. He learns everything about Damage while 1 hour gets over and Damage transforms, losing his consciousness. The rampaging hero may be much more strong than the villain who once murdered Superman, according to the newest edition of Damage. The battle boards eat up all of your time. Which of the characters is the most powerful? In a battle, who would win? We could play this game all day and never reach a resolution. That is, unless the original material is available to back it up. Damage suggests that the titular figure may be more powerful than one of Superman's most formidable adversaries. DC Comics made news in 1993 when Superman was killed in an epic battle against the monster Doomsday. While the Man of Steel recovered, the villain who defeated him has stayed at the top of the list of formidable antagonists. Doomsday, more than Brainiac, Darkseid, or Lex Luthor, has always been Superman's most formidable foe, until now that is. The clash that had been anticipated for months eventually took place, with the Justice League aiming to put an end to Damage's rampage throughout the country. Superman fought out against Ethan Avery's better half in a 14-page wall-to-wall battle to finally put an end to the world's greatest threat to innocent life. Damage demonstrated he could hold his own against someone as strong as Superman. He went head to head with the Kryptonian, demonstrating that he could knock him out and even make him bleed. In the end, it appears that Deadman's timely intervention was the sole reason the Justice League was able to triumph. Damage throws the hardest punch I've ever felt, Superman tells Avery after the battle. And although it might be in reference to anybody, what he says next says it all. And I've been killed, he says, clearly referring to his fight with Doomsday. Damage might actually be stronger than Doomsday if he can unleash a punch that is stronger than Doomsday. Damage, on the other hand, can only retain his shape for 1 hour every 24 hours, implying that he lacks Doomsday's stamina. This means that, while he could possibly battle the monster, he wouldn't be able to outlast it long enough to win. Damage connection to a member of the Justice Society. Will Damage eventually become a full-fledged member of the Justice League? It's conceivable, but the team will focus on teaching him how to use his abilities for the time being. Given that he may be stronger than Doomsday, even if just for an hour at a time, this is a reasonable strategy. It is always preferable to be safe than sorry. As part of the new age of DC heroes, the DC universe was left with a plethora of all-new heroes following the events of Dark Knight's Metal. Private First Class Ethan Avery, a test subject in a project created to provide the United States Army a live weapon of mass destruction to employ against the government's adversaries, is one of the first to premiere, the monster known as Damage. The experiment was a success, with the exception that he is far too powerful to be contained. Avery, who was created as DC Comics' take on the Incredible Hulk, can only retain his gigantic form for 1 hour before passing out and reverting to normal. The monster was formed by injecting the test subject with dark matter left behind after the invasion of the Dark Multiverse. But Damage adds a new layer of complexity to the research that went into his development. He finds out to have a startling connection to a character who hasn't been seen in a long time. Avery was a Damage program test subject before he went on the run. We learn why he can only stay changed for 1 hour in a new flashback scenario. The chemistry that went into the construction of Damage is said to be based on the Miraclo recipe, thanks to a hearty dosage of exposure. It's conceivable that Damage's transformation time limit has been extended, causing him to be unable to stay changed for longer than the allocated hour. Those who are familiar with the pre-Flashpoint continuity should be well versed on the substance that offers extraordinary strength for an hour. The television program Arrow included a medication called Miracuru, which is a variant of the drug. Slade Wilson's superhuman abilities were given to him by a Japanese super soldier serum. It is a potent narcotic in any form that gives the user enormous strength, which Damage plainly demonstrates. Regardless of whence Avery obtains his talents, the doctor in charge of Damage's testing believes the serum is simply too much for his body to handle. His body shuts down after an hour of such stress on his system in order to repair. This would explain why a metamorphosis takes him 23 hours to recover from. Whatever is being utilised to manipulate him is most certainly causing significant damage to his internal systems. If this is the case, it shouldn't come as a surprise to learn that Damage is murdering his host. This name drop is well known among Justice Society fans because of its connection to the character Hourman. The medication has already been used to give both Rex Tyler and his son Rick superhuman power. Since the New 52, neither character has appeared in the regular DCU. However, a version of Hourman appeared in the alternate world novel Earth 2 Society. Despite the fact that most Justice Society members are absent from contemporary DC Comics continuity, it's worth considering whether this relationship may someday lead to the reappearance of the superhero Hourman. Perhaps there's a third link to examine in all of this. Damage is believed to have been produced by a software that is an outgrowth of the Hourman program. If the US government is covertly developing superhumans, as Damage indicates, it begins the process of integrating pieces of Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Doomsday Clock work into the DC universe. The assumption that the government has initiated a superhuman weapons race has taken root among the public in the world that it has been developing. Set 1 year in the future, the Superman theory proposes that the United States has seen an inflow of superhumans as a result of the government surreptitiously developing them. Metamorpho and Manbat have already been shown to be research subjects, but what about Hourman? Damage's connection to Doomsday Clock is a little tough to identify, given that DC appears to have allowed the event to thrive in its own DCU corner. This link is tough to deny, and Doomsday Clock is supposed to be where the DCU is going. So perhaps Damage is just laying the scene for when the timelines inevitably meet. In any case, it's evident that something is coming. Conclusion. In post-Metal series, there have been several new characters that are similar to that of Marvel. It's not just Damage, but also characters like Sideways as well. The characters did pretty well in the comics and highly blended with the other main characters from the DC universe. These characters can be brought forward in the cinematic universe as well as there itself. There have been different storylines running in different parallel phases. A character as strong as Superman and with a brain and moral code should serve the universe even more. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.